Last night was an A1 tip-top clubbing jam fair. It was a sandwich of fun on ecstasy bread, wrapped up in a big bag of like disco fudge. Doesn't get much better than that. I just wish sometimes I could control these mood swings.
Hey Short Film Texas fans, Jett Garner here with Jettisode number 7. Yeah, we're well into June here, halfway through the year, almost. Today, I want to review a film that I saw over the weekend quickly, and I also want to quickly rant about Hollywood and what has inspired this rant of Hollywood films and studio films is all the trailers that played before this film that I saw this weekend. And real quick for our viewers and members of the website who are in Texas, we are going to do another Jettisode this week that involves the incentive package here in Texas again, but also a particular film that wants to be made here and has applied for the incentive package. The film is called Waco, but I'm waiting on a few email replies from people in the know, and before I speak on that topic and give my opinions, I want to make sure I have a very clear understanding of what the situation is. So without further ado, let me review The Hangover. We watched this here in Austin this past weekend. First of all, I didn't catch the rating, but I believe it's a rated R film, a comedy, using for most of the world unknown actors, and for most of the world an unknown director, although he's certainly directed some comedies and he's known by film people. He's just not popular like, you know, Michael Bay or Steven Spielberg. First of all, it's so refreshing to go see a comedy for adults that I wouldn't want my children to watch. I like, as an adult, having the option to watch adult humor and adult films. And when I say adult films, I'm not talking about XXX. I'm just talking about things that my kids would not enjoy and I wouldn't want them to watch it. For me, I think Hollywood is constantly, with every movie it seems that comes out in the recent 10 years, 99% of those films, they're trying to capture every audience member, from a 5-year-old to, you know, a 90-year-old. And the people who lose out in that formula is us adults, because we're constantly watching dumbed down recycled garbage in order to bring in that younger audience. Perfect example is Disney, and I was a part of this film, so I can speak about it, not only as a viewer but someone who was on the film for 4 months. Disney remade The Alamo in 2003, and instead of shooting it like Private Ryan, bloody, and because it was, the Alamo in that battle was considered the bloodiest 20 minutes on American soil, although it wasn't American soil during that time, but in America's history. And yet there was no blood on set, with the exception of the blood on Billy Bob when he died. So we're constantly, as adults, being force-fed films that are dumbed down and catered to a younger audience to bring in as much buck as you possibly can, which with film, it is a business, but it's also an artistic form. So we're kind of the losers. Back to The Hangover. Extremely funny, actors that I'm not overly familiar with, extremely refreshing, adult content and humor, a breath of fresh air. I enjoyed the entire movie. I thought the script obviously was brilliant. The acting was top notch, and again, it's easy sometimes to watch unknown actors, easier than to watch actors familiar with, so you don't have any expectation. So if you have not seen The Hangover, and you are an adult and you want to watch adult content humor, I think you'll really enjoy this. If my memory serves, it's by the same guy who directed Old School, and is his name Todd Phillips, I believe. And Todd Phillips is another one of those films that I thought was more catered to adults than a younger audience. But this movie is definitely adult content and adult rated. Okay, now on to my rant with Hollywood. And this is in reference to the 5 or 6 previews, also known in the business trailers, that I saw before The Hangover. Every movie was a recycled film or idea or TV show that was made or on TV in the last 15 to 20 years. Every one of them. I'm not going to go into the specifics of the titles because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but you know, usually when you go to a movie and you watch 5 or 6 trailers, you'd expect, 90% of those trailers to be a completely unique concept, a new idea, something you've never seen before. And 2 of the trailers were like 5th generation sequels to horror films that were bad in the first place and haven't been good since. But the marketing departments in these studios, these stock-held companies, are using that name recognition of the title to force feed yet another version of a bad series, a bad movie of a bad series. None of the films are good. And that was 2 of the cases. The other 3 were taking concepts that have been done over and over again in the last 20 years. One was, I'll say it was starring Gerard Butler. I cannot remember the name. And the gal, Catherine, and I can't pronounce her last name, but she was in Knocked Up. It was basically a recycled version of Cyrano de Bergerac, which Steve Martin made with Alec Baldwin and I believe Kim Basinger, or maybe it was Daryl Hannah, back in the late 80s. And it's also, a famous play that's been done worldwide. And it says to me, that movie, the Steve Martin version was only done, 20, maybe 18 or 20 years ago. Is it really, are the ideas really that short out there that they have to keep recycling things? Every television show from the 80s is now being made into a film. Every action film has a sequel, upon sequel, upon sequel. And for me, the only one that's worked so far in the action film comic book world is Batman. The Christian Bale Batman and the most recent, the 2 Batmans that he was in have been brilliant. But the rest are not working. And another film was a horror film that was recycled off of Elijah Wood and Macaulay Culkin in like The Good Son or something like that, but it involved an adopted daughter who was bad and evil and had bad intentions. So the problem is we are being told, Hollywood is dictating which movies and projects they greenlight based on the marketing department's recommendation of product familiarity. That is, this movie was made, it's BS. It is not maximizing the talent that's out there. I mean, allegedly, the most talented writers, actors, directors, and producers in the world are in Hollywood, allegedly. So why aren't we giving those people the creative license and the trust to make films that are unique and new and fresh? Every time I go see an action film these days, it's like I've seen it 150 times. There's not a lot of uniqueness and freshness in the products they are selling us. But we keep buying these products. And I don't know why. I have this conversation with many people, some in the film industry, some just friends who love movies like me. And I hear this complaint a lot from family members and so forth, and people I know on a personal level. So I know it's just not me thinking this way. So the question is, most of America must not be thinking this way because they're not going to continue to sell products that aren't selling. They're not going to continue to produce and make products that aren't selling. So then the question becomes, well, what do we have to do? Well, what we have to do is, if something looks familiar or it's based on a TV show that sucked anyways in the 1980s, don't go see it. And it takes 1, and then it takes 2, and then it takes 3. And finally, they'll be giving us some respect as consumers. But the buck drives everything. And as long as they're selling, they're going to keep shoveling shite to us. And for people who want a little more from their 2-hour film experience, they may get once a month, a little more than it's tough. It's tough. So Hollywood, here's what we want. We want original, fresh ideas. We're tired of this recycled BS you keep force feeding us every week. And by the way, on a keynote, if you're gonna make the Terminator 4, which unlike most sequel franchises is actually a good franchise, don't allow McG to direct 1 or 2 episodes because he totally tanked that particular franchise. Now, that was just a side note. But start treating us like adults. As adults, we want to watch adult film with adult content. I don't want to be sold the same movie ticket to a film that is for my 5-year-old or my 3-year-old or my 2-year-old, my 10-year-old, 12-year-old. I want adult time and adult movies. And stop. You've allegedly got the most creative writers in the world in Hollywood. Allow them to be creative and stop allowing your marketing department to drive everything. Listen, guys, pardon the soapbox, but I know a lot of you are feeling the same way based on a lot of emails we get. Peace. Look for another Texas Film Incentive specific Jettisode later this week. I like adult films talking about XXX. It's easy sometimes to watch unknown actors easier than to watch actors you're familiar with. I'm not going to go into the specifics of the titles because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I want adult movies.